Hello all. A Knife Tale here, bringing you a knife review. And today we're looking at the NCC knives. Nick Chuperin made. Ragnarok V1. This is a custom knife, a CNC custom. Made in... I forget where he's based out of. It's the US. I'll link his site and his Instagram down below. No big deal. So this is a bit of an interesting knife. As with a lot of customs, it's sort of doing its own thing. This is 154 cm or CPM 154. I can't remember which one it is. It's not marked on the knife. And as you can tell, this is kind of free flow. I just grabbed this knife out of my knife case and decided, yay, yes, let's do the video on it today. Research, what is that? Who knows? Let us get into specs. 3¼ inch blade and almost 3¼ inch cutting edge. 7.5 overall, 4¼ on the handle. That does add up. It's not a huge knife. Kind of feels, I have to admit, the name feels off for me. I like it. I like the name. But Ragnarok just feels like it belongs on a super dramatic, bigger knife. And as you can see, small Civivi Elementum, full-size Civivi Conspirator. This is not a particularly large knife. It falls pretty much directly in between the two. It is a medium sort of minimal knife, let's call it. I don't know what to call that. But it's not very big. So I don't know. The Ragnarok label just doesn't quite feel right to me. Maybe that's me. I believe the pivot is... No? Really? I thought the pivot was a T10. The pivot is a T15. Interesting. See? Learning things. That's what happens when you don't actually do any research. Or you don't even look at the knife before you start doing a review of it. Oh, Lord. Okay, T15. I'm assuming the rest of it is T8. And I would be wrong again, because I'm a potato. Okay, so the rest of it looks like T10. Double check, or, you know, measure twice, cut once. Yeah. Okay, so we got big hardware on this thing. Minimal hardware, just these 3 screws. And the pivot is... The pivot's not... It doesn't appear to be captured, but I know I have adjusted this pivot a little bit. With just one side. And had no issue. So... Yeah... I prefer captured pivots, but... I'm not going to be upset if it works like a captured pivot. No complaints there. Big, nice, chunky hardware. Weight. I don't think this thing's going to be an ounce an inch. There is no internal milling on this knife. But it's not that heavy. 4.31 ounces. So, yeah, I mean... The balance is sort of right where you grip at it. It's not a heavy knife. It's a little bit of a chunky knife. I can't get you... Oh, I can get you to close it further. Okay, sure. 487 thousandths. So under a ½ inch, even though it does feel thick, it's not... The handle is not that thick. The blade stock, however, is 152 thousandths, apparently. A little thick on the blade stock. And behind the edge is going to be a pain in the butt, because as you can see, these are steps in the blade. These are milled in. I can feel them. So it's going to be a little bit weird to get this thing behind the edge. Don't do that. I'm going to say 15, 16 thousandths behind the edge. I don't know. It's just weird. It's throwing me off here. Let's call it 17 thousandths and be good. It's in between that 16 to 18 thousandths, depending on which little step you hit. It's not too bad behind the edge, but it does get thicker pretty quick. Not a ton of room to drop down to a relatively thick blade stock, so it gets thicker pretty quick. You got a Tonto point that's definitely going to disappear after some sharpenings if you don't know exactly what you're doing. I do not. Though I haven't had trouble with Tontos before. Pretty thick tip. I mean, it cuts really well. It's very sharp. But it's CPM 154. I'm pretty sure it's CPM 154. So, yeah, it'll hold an edge for a while, but this is definitely a knife that's going to need to be sharpened. I don't know. The plunge grind could be better. It basically hits the edge almost. Kind of comes to right there. NCC logo, Nick Trooper and logo. And I honestly feel weird talking about not function. I feel weird talking about critiquing the geometry on a knife like this, because this is a custom. I mean, right? It may be a CNC custom, but it's a custom. It feels so much like a quality knife that you would buy to use, despite it being custom. And that's not to say that customs can't be used. They certainly can. I do carry this knife. I do use customs. I have a couple that I use. There are two that I don't, but it doesn't feel right to critique customs on their quirks, because that's the nature of a one-man band knife making, right? This thing's clearly supposed to be designed to look a certain way and feel a certain way, and it achieves that, even at the expense a little bit of maybe a thinner grind that could give you more life, which I wouldn't mind seeing. Maybe a V2 of this thing that's hollow ground, even if it does away with these cool milling lines in the blade. Just give us something that's really usable and that you want to go out and carry and use all the time. I could totally be down for that too. As you can see, we have this sort of dual icy satin, not stonewash, sorry, not anodization with a blue for this starburst sort of pattern, which looks, frankly, absolutely stunning. Look at the lip of the titanium rising to meet the pivot collar. That is just, it's gorgeous. And that's the sort of thing here. It's just all gorgeous, and it's super well done and executed. You don't have a lock bar insert by the looks of it, but I mean, oh well. The lock bar is a little tight for the disengagement. Not tight, it's just not raised. You don't have access in that sense to it. There's the camera. So it's coming from the side just a little bit, but you're raised up a little bit. That said, it's not at all hard to disengage, and the action is fantastic. The detent is fantastic. My word, this thing has a super snappy detent. Poppy. It is perfectly centered. You've got this very nice, attractive backspacer back here. The only method for deployment is this flipper tab, which is a little bit square, and it feels a little bit odd. But it's knocked down, it's chamfered, it's soft, it's not uncomfortable in the slightest. It's just a little blockier than you think looking at it. But it works great, right? Even the push button sort of works pretty darn well. And man, this thing slams out there. And then glides shut. The action is just fantastic. This thing is dialed in wonderfully. Ergos are excellent. It's not a big knife, but it's super neutral. You can feel the clip, but it's not uncomfortable in the slightest. And the clip works pretty darn well. It's actually got a good amount of flex to it, but it holds tight. And even on the wash on the blade that's not got this sort of acid finish, or this, I guess, blasted acid wash finish, is like frosty. That's kind of what the whole thing is saying. Ice. I think these are tie connector hardware. I've seen them before many, many a time. This is just a really cool knife. It's a CNC custom. These show up and are dropped occasionally. He's working on them. I don't know what he's working on right now. I know he's had another design being the BBM, which I also have, and I love. That one has a hollow grind. That thing's a cutter. But this knife is what it's supposed to be, and it's really cool and it's really nice. This is not a cheap knife. This is CNC custom. But we're still looking at around the $800 mark for these. At least that's what it was when I bought this one. Varying depending on how much is actually done to them. Different patterns, different executions, different finishes, complexity of grinds and stuff like that can change. But you're looking to vary around that 800. So I think one was like down at 750. Most were around the 800 to 850. There may have been some $900 ones. There's a cracked earth one that looks like it might require a bit more. Yeah, it's worth it. I love this knife. I like that it kind of matches my BBM, which I haven't done a video on, but the color's actually pretty close to matching. It's a really good knife, and it's definitely one that wants to be used. It's just maybe not the longest lifespan, but again, you're not bad. It's not terrible. You got some life. It's really cool. I really like it. Little harpoon Tonto kind of thing going on here. Very minimal harpoon, but it's there. This is a fun knife. Well executed. I'm still just... I don't know. Does it say Ragnarok to you guys? I don't know. Just that feels a little too intense for this knife. I don't know. It's wonderful. I really like this thing. Nick Chuprin does some good darn work. And supposedly he's been making custom knives since he was like 14? Which is just crazy. So, it clearly shows he's been doing this for a while. I assume he's not 14 anymore. No, he's definitely not 14 anymore. But the Ragnarok V1 is a really fun, really cool custom knife. That is a dog moaning at me for something. as always. You know, someone suggested a dog review video, and I'm seriously considering it. He's not going to fare well. He will not fare well. He is not a great dog. He's kind of a terrible dog. I love him dearly. My word, he is a terrible little turkey. Alright, guys. Let's close the book on this. Drop a like and a subscribe if you would very kindly like to support the channel. Comment down below what kind of content you want to see, what you want to see going forward. I'm running probably almost 3/4 of the way through my own personal collection now. That's what I'm doing to start off this channel, covering all of my own personal knives. And it's taken a while, but I'm getting there. So I gotta figure out what the heck I'm gonna do after that. Oh, crap. So look forward to that. That should be interesting. Man, this thing's action is just... Again, it's a little blocky, but... Oof, that snap is addicting. Yes, you agree? No, okay, he doesn't agree. Alright, I'll see what he wants. I'll end it here. Thanks for watching, guys.